That's the reason. Hi, everybody. It's your host, LaToya Riggins, host of All Things Craft, and you are here at the Craft Cafe live show, you guys. We're here in June, so happy June 2026, you guys. It's been a lot going on, and we have a special treat for you today, you guys. I hope that everybody has their craft mugs or your tumbler, your Wave Accounting Lab tumbler, to come on in here and let your hair down and let's lift the voices of ECE. We have a special treat for you today. We have Dr. Deidre Jones in the building. She is well renowned. I love to say that because when it comes to ECE, the people who actually make these waves, a lot of times you don't even know their names. You see their faces, you see their fists. But I want to make sure that not only do you know the names, but you know the journey. Okay, so we're going to be diving in with Miss Deidre Jones. Okay, guys. So if you know her and you love her, definitely chime in. We got Alan Gutman in the building. If you want to come on and introduce yourself, Alan, definitely do that. Hey, there he is. All right. It's
Yeah,
always
I'm
nice to have the greatness. How you
just
doing,
here to
Alan?
support. Good, Latoya. Great to see you. And just here to support Dr. Jones and,
Thank you.
learning a lot from her. So I'm looking forward to today and to being quiet today.
Yeah. Well, listen, Alan, you already know we can talk. So I'm going to take that off your plate. Okay. All you got to do is be you. He's like, I know that's right. So Deidre, I always mess that up because people would tell me it's Deidre, but you're Deidre, which I know. I know
Yes.
Deidre.
Yes,
So
I am Deidre.
let's dive into it. I just want to make sure that everybody knows what we're doing. Just give a quick intro to the Craft Cafe Live. If this is your first time, this is where we uplift the voices of ECE, and that's early childhood education. Our main brand is Craft by Better Futures, where we give nothing but specifically designed professional development to leaders of early childhood education, businesses, pretty much any business that services children and families. So that is the topic. This is our spin-off podcast talk show of that so that we can come in and actually get down to the nitty gritty and unpack all of the leaders, the presenters, and the people who actually pour into this industry to make it what it is today. All right. So we're going to be diving in with you, Miss Jones. I think of the
The
me and
song,
but you're like, I'm Miss Dr. Jones if you're nasty. Okay. So let's get into it. So let's go back. Just introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, and then we'll get into the journey.
Okay. So, good afternoon, everyone. I am Dr. Deidre Jones. I am born, raised, and bred South Central LA. But I also do have roots in Memphis. I actually just moved back to Memphis about a month and a half ago. I attended college out here, graduated from Lemoyne College, and then went on to earn my master's and doctorate. So I ended up living out here for 10 years, and I am coming back after being gone for 15 years. And so I started my career here in Memphis as a classroom teacher in the school district. I taught pre-K and kindergarten, and then I left and moved back to my native home of LA, where I began my administrative journey in early childhood education, climbing the ranks from director of a private faith-based nursery program all the way up to VP of a nonprofit scaling operations for 32 centers across three geographic locations or three geographic areas in the county. I've completed two fellowships. One, the National Head Start Fellowship Program. I was in the inaugural class after it had been gone for 10 years. And then after that, completed a research fellowship through the Boston College Wheelock College of Education, Boston University Wheelock College of Education, where I actually, with my research team, we have a paper in publication for a journal.
Wow, that sounds awesome. That's a lot, girl.
Yeah.
So let's take it all the way back. So
Okay.
you said you grew up so you said South Central LA?
Yes.
Wow. And I'm from New York. So as you know, New Yorkers are always obsessed with you're always obsessed with the opposite. So you know,
Right.
you have the East Coast, West Coast. I grew up watching all of those movies about South Central, like South
Hmm.
Central LA, Master Society.
Boys
So
in the Hood.
yeah, and I know that doesn't really show it in a great light. But growing up in New York City, I was like, damn, it's bad over there. Like they got drive-bys and stuff. I don't ever want to
No,
go there.
no, it's not. And the thing is, I was guilty of that too. I grew up in a middle class neighborhood. But I also, saw those movies, and I grew up in LA in the 90s, so height of the gangs and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, I think it was the summer after my freshman year in college. I just asked my mom, I was like, yo, do we live in the hood? And my mom was like, girl, yeah.
And mom, do we live in the hood?
But the thing is, it wasn't like what you saw in the movies. Like we could play outside. I wasn't worried about drive-bys or anything,
Mm-hmm.
My mom would send us down to the corner store, if she needed something. I wasn't fearful in my neighborhood, so I never thought I lived in the hood. But by definitions, when you look at, the locale, technically, yeah, it was the
Uh-huh.
hood, but it was a middle class
The
neighborhood.
middle class.
We had other kids on the block that we played with. Our neighbor directly across the street from us, we practically grew up with the granddaughter that grew up in that house. So, yeah, it wasn't like what you saw in the movies.
Well, that's what I heard because I went to Howard, and when you go away to school, you meet people from all over. And there was another
Yeah.
girl named Toya in my dorm on my floor. Shout out to the quad, y'all, HU. And she was Toya, but she was from LA. And when she met me, she was like, "Oh my God, you're from the Bronx. I'm so scared to go there. Y'all got people get mugged every day. I got carjackers." And I'm looking at her like, "I know you lying." Like all the drive-bys. And she was like, "No, y'all got the drive-bys." So it was like the whole time I'm watching movies about y'all city.
LA, yeah.
Y'all watching movies about New York, like, damn, it's bad, So, and even though, I knew I lived in the hood, but I knew that it wasn't the lowest of the hoods. So
Right.
it's so crazy because it's like different levels to the hood.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
even though we had, crime and stuff, we played outside. We didn't fear anything like that. So it's so funny how you're in it. So you don't even understand that that's how people are
People
looking.
perceive it. Right. Yeah. No, and
Yeah.
I get because people, I mean, definitely when I went off to college, from LA to Memphis, they thought the same thing. I even got nicknamed LA. My name was LA for a while by some of
Yep.
the people. Or even when I moved back, when I moved back to LA in 2011, I moved back in with my parents and they were living in Inglewood at the time.
Okay.
And I had a friend, because there was this spot that, I would love to go to. It was like the only club in the area that was just like all black, right? And I loved it. But I had this friend that would talk down about it. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold up, like, don't speak negatively because every time I went, I had a good time, no issues, nothing. But she would just downplay it and downplay Inglewood. And when I kind of checked her on it, she was like, yeah, but you live behind the gates. You're in a gated community in Inglewood. And I'm like, wait a minute, nah, nah, nah.
Gotta save it.
I had to tell her, put some respect on it because, what she was saying, it just, I was like, that's not what it's like.
Yeah. You got to kind of, but that's why it's so good to get out of your city so that you can meet
Hmm.
other people. Not only will you find out more about what things are like, you're able to tell others what it's really
Hmm.
like. Wow. Oh, we got Denise just jumped in the building. Hey, Denise, come on and unmute and introduce yourself. Join the combo.
Hi.
How
So,
you doing?
huh?
How you doing? Tell us your name, what you do, where you from.
So I'm Denise Sarrazin, and I'm from Massachusetts, just outside of Boston.
Oh,
And I am the director of a two-classroom Christian preschool.
Okay.
nice. So how'd you hear about the Craft Cafe?
It came up on a email. And yeah, so I was looking at a couple of videos, and I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I'll look and see,
Well,
be part of a
welcome.
conversation.
Yeah, and listen, this is open forum, so I want you guys to be a part of the conversation. So we're here with Dr. Jones, and what I'm telling you, this is one hell of a journey that she has here in ECE. So you're in the right place. Definitely pop your information into the chat. This is a great place to actually, network. And we're live on Facebook. So guys, if you're watching at home, let me make sure I'm watching. if you guys have any questions. Pop it into the actual chat, you guys, all right? And then I can pick it up and I can get Dr. Jones to answer it. Okay, I'm pulling it up. If that's chat, guys. That's me. Okay, let me mute it.
So
guys,
Denise, I have a question. You said that you got it in an email. Are you a J&J fellow? The Head Start Management, the Head Start Management Fellow program?
No,
No? Okay.
although there's a
well,
Head Start, there is a Head Start, well, the Head Start in the town I'm in, Norwood, is getting kicked out of the public school. And so we rent space from a church, and
Okay.
they the Head Start, the person in charge of the Head Start program contacted me asking if there was space here, thinking that I had a building. So they got in contact with the church people, and we're hoping that they will actually operate just down the hall from us.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
asked because you mentioned the email, and I also had sent out this information too, because another group that I'm part of, or fellows that I'm part of, is the UCLA Head Start Management Fellows Program, and so I had sent it out to them as well. So when you said email, I thought maybe you had gotten it from that email.
yeah, I'm not really sure how it popped up, but
Okay. Well, we're glad you're here.
Right. Between the two of us, I'm glad it got out there. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here and welcome. I'm going to put some links in the chat. We're live on Facebook too, so I'll be putting them in both chats. I'm also putting in her LinkedIn into the chat too, so you guys can connect with her. Okay, hold on. I'm putting it in the chat now. So you can connect with her on LinkedIn. Okay. All right. Let's see. Karita, are you able to come in and introduce yourself?
Yes, I am. I am. I'm trying to find my glasses. You know, my glasses make me, girl. So here I go. All right, don't y'all be judging me, okay?
No, we're not going to judge you. This is a safe space.
Okay,
Now, while
good.
she's getting that together, Alan just put in the chat. He says, at two different points in my life while in Los Angeles, I lived in South and north of Inglewood, Gardena,
Gardena.
and Park, Gardena. Yep. Oh, and you went to junior high in Gardena. Oh. All right, so we got the crew in here. Hey, Karita, Lady Karita, how are you?
Hello. I am wonderful, everyone. My name is Karita Pimentel, and I am with Family Child Care Enrichment Foundation. As you can see, we just celebrated our second conference, renewing our mind, body, and soul, which was amazing. So get ready for next year, April 15th. So go ahead and mark your calendars. But I am a board member of the foundation, and I am honored to be here today with you there, Dr. Deidre Jones. I was doing my research as I was doing it. Yes, I had to do my research because I was like, okay, who is she? What is she about? What is this going to be about? So yes, I was just so excited. So
Thank
I
you.
heard someone say about how they found it and whatnot, but of course I got the email from LaToya, but I also went to the Eventbrite. I saw it there, and I was like, okay, let's do it on a Friday in the evening. So yes.
And this one right here, tell them what you do, Karita, other than the board, because you have your own business too.
Well, I am going to start my own business, and it's called Caring Minds Academy, which is going to cater and curtail to children to help them with their literacy, help them, to have social emotional learning skills and everything like that. So just trying to see where I'm going to focus it. And I also work with my sister with her nonprofit. It's called the AI Wisdom Institute. So I do some facilitating on that aspect for ages 3 to 9, which I am in awe. So we just wrapped up our first pilot for the semester, and then we're going to go ahead for the fall and get that together. So yes.
Right. Thank
And
you.
where are you located, Karita?
I am currently located in the beautiful Queen City of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
Charlotte in the building. And Karina is also a veteran. So shout out to you. We just had Memorial Day. So thanks for
Well,
serving again.
well, Memorial Day is
No,
for
that's for
those
the
who've gone
deceased.
before us.
Yeah.
May they
Well,
rest in
y'all
peace.
don't get to celebrate neither?
No,
Oh, okay. I thought it was oh, so Veterans
No.
Day is for y'all.
Yeah.
Veterans Day is for us.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah. Memorial Day is for those who have fallen.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was for remembering what I did. You know?
No, it's for those who have
Oh,
fallen.
damn. Thank you for getting me together. Well, thank you for serving. Either way, you still here. Good. So we
It's
don't have
okay,
to.
but yes, I am a veteran also. I served Marine Corps and Navy.
All right, now it's putting in that work. See, this is why I love this, so that we can actually make those connections, because the things that you guys all do, you have that in common, especially with the children and Head Start and the different programs and things of that nature. So wanted to make sure that we have a space like this where we can just meet people from all around the world and talk about these things. So, and back to you, Deidre. Thank you, Karina, for coming. Yeah, we had a
My
great
pleasure.
conference and retreat, talking about self-care. And that's one of the things, Dr. Jones, you and I were talking about, especially just as, not just as women or parents, but as people, that have to serve people, that it matters what happens to them. It matters to everybody, but when it comes to children, it's really important. So let's get back to what we was talking about, y'all, is the beginning of Dr. Jones's journey and how she started out in LA and then moving to Memphis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Memphis,
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Yep,
And
moved to Memphis.
I love the Memphis barbecue sauce. So tell me, how was that transition? Because you spent how long in LA?
All my life, 17. I left after graduating high school and moved to Memphis.
Okay.
And always, I went to a HBCU, Lemoyne College. Shout out magicians. um, and for me, it was a culture shock, but it was a positive culture shock. Growing up in LA, in the 90s, early 2000s, there were often times where I was the only or one of a few Black faces in a space.
Really?
I started, but I had a really good foundation because for elementary school, up through the 6th grade, I went to a predominantly Black school. It was a private Christian based school,
Oh, okay.
had all Black teachers. So that was my foundation. I know that's like unheard of, but I had all Black teachers. I didn't experience my first non-Black teacher until I went to public school in the 7th grade. And that's also where I got introduced to different cultures and ethnicities as well. Because up until there, my world was you either Black or you white. It was just that. But then I got introduced to like Samoans and other nationalities, had some, made friends that to this day, I'm still connected to. So that was junior high, Perry Junior High in Gardena, since Alan mentioned he lived in Gardena. And then high school was a mix, and I went to a college prep high school. So it's called CAMS, stands for California Academy of Mathematics and Science. It was it's on the campus of Cal State Dominguez.
Ooh, that sounds
And our class was the last, so we didn't have our own facility. We used the college's bungalows. And our class was the last to graduate from the bungalows because the following year they opened up their own facility that was still on the campus of the college. But through that experience, I was able to start taking college courses. So by the time I graduated and entered college, I was a semester ahead of the other incoming freshmen. Now, I had some classmates that when they went to college, they already had junior status because of all the college courses they had taken. But I was a semester ahead of the incoming freshmen at Lemoyne. Went to Lemoyne on an academic scholarship. Greatest experience of my life. I wouldn't trade it for the world. I know it's a small, not as well known as the other HBCUs college, but it was the perfect fit for me. I had the best experience. Like I was kind of sad when I had to graduate.
So what did you major in? Like, did you already
I
know you
made,
wanted to
yep,
go into education?
yep, majored in
How
early
young were you
childhood,
when you knew that you wanted to get into this field?
second grade.
Really?
Yes.
Did
So
somebody inspire you, or
mhm,
it was just something in you? What happened?
my first grade teacher, Linda Hargan, she was my inspiration. She inspired me in the second grade. So in the second grade, I had a classmate that I didn't get along with. She was a bit of a bully.
Mm.
And I and this classmate got into it about something. And, by this time we're in the second grade, but my first grade teacher pulled us to the side and spoke to us. And it was something about that moment that just imprinted on me. And that's when I knew I wanted to be a teacher. So much so that by the sixth grade, I was in the second grade classroom volunteering and helping the second grade teacher to the point where I lost track of time and didn't know my class had gone in for recess after lunch. And a
You still was helping
classmate
out.
had to come and get me because my teacher realized I wasn't in the classroom.
Hmm.
But they knew where I was. So that's when I started. And just from there, just doing things like I think in high school, I was there's this organization, this professional organization called Phi Delta Kappa.
Okay.
And they had like some type of initiative, a program that I participated in one summer because, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. But in knowing that I wanted to be a teacher, I was also very cognizant of the fact that teachers don't make a lot of money.
Mm.
So by the time I was a senior in high school, I already had it in my mind that I was going to get my doctorate degree because I figured that'll help me get the most amount of money that I can.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always known that I wanted to be in education, and I've always known I was going to get a doctorate degree.
Oh, that's right. Love that. So I love when people already know. Sometimes people they have that calling, but they don't really answer it. They kind of push it to the side, like I
Mm.
just need money. I just need money. Let me just do this job. But you picking it up from second grade, well, first grade, knowing this is what I want to do and going all the way. So you went away to college, and this was in Tennessee, Memphis.
Yes.
First experience at a HBCU, even though you had the experience with Black teachers, Black
Mm-hmm.
students. What how was that? Did you know that you wanted that experience, or was this the school that gave you
I
money?
didn't. And I actually wasn't going to. So here's how I picked my colleges. One, I knew I was leaving the state. I wanted the full college experience.
Yeah.
And my mother told me if you stay in LA, you're staying at home. So I threw them deuces. I was like, oh, I got to leave the state. I didn't think about
Uh-huh.
going to Northern California where my dad's family is at. I didn't think about maybe going to a school that was still in the state, but like a few hours away, like my younger brother and sister did. They went to UC Riverside. It's like 2 hours away. They got to stay on campus. My mind went, I have to leave the state.
Yeah, because I'm not staying with mama. Mm-mm.
I would have. So I was strategic about where I applied because I was like, okay, wherever I go, I need to be close to someone in case of an emergency so that either I can get to them or they can get to me. That was my thinking. So it was Delaware, where my godfather was, or Memphis, where my mom is from and all her family is there. So that's my
Uh-oh.
connection to Memphis.
Okay.
So I settled on
Sounds fun.
Memphis. I applied to 3 schools in Memphis. There was one I wanted to go to because they seemed like they really wanted me and they offered me a small scholarship. But then that was Christian Brothers. But then we had kind of settled on University of Memphis because it was cheaper. Just
Okay.
as my mother was getting ready to send off my orientation check for U of M, Lemoyne sent me my scholarship package, which basically covered everything except room and board.
Wow.
So I went to Lemoyne and I found out about Lemoyne because I was in a Black student union in high school and I can't remember if it was Jet or Ebony, but they produced this booklet of HBCUs and Lemoyne is in it because it's an HBCU. I saw it was in Memphis, so I had that connection to Memphis and they had education major. So it all lined up. So that's why I applied to Lemoyne, but I ended up going there because of the scholarship package they gave me. And after my first year, it got bumped up to a full ride where room and board was covered. So I
Wow,
went.
that's
So I
awesome.
did not accrue any debt for undergrad because
You
I
did
was
a
on
whole
academic
show.
scholarship the entire time.
No, that's right. Woo, give it up to no debt. My daughter's going into school, so I'm like, oh Lord. Uh. So wow. So you see how divine that is? Karita said, look at God working in the midst.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. That was very divine. Like you said, she was just about to put it on. So now when you went to that school, is that why you stayed? Did you wind up
As
staying
far
in
as staying in
Memphis?
Memphis.
Yeah.
I stayed in Memphis because I did grad school.
Okay.
And so when I was looking for master's programs, I did apply to USC, University of Southern California, which are my parents' alma mater.
Okay.
The reason why I never applied to SC for undergrad was because my parents told me straight off the bat, we can't afford to send you there. So I didn't even bother applying. But
Yeah,
now
that's
that
why
it's
it's
grad
expensive.
school, I have to take out loans. I did get accepted to SC, but it was on conditional status. And I felt a little offended by that because
Right.
I had a 3.9 GPA from college, graduated summa cum laude and valedictorian. So I was a little bit offended that they were accepting me on conditional
Right. Who are they
status.
talking to?
Which I felt like it was mostly because maybe my GRE scores weren't as high.
Yeah,
But
that's
I was
crazy.
like, conditional said, like, I'm already coming in on academic probation. Nah, that's okay. So I stayed in Memphis and
What
ended up
kind of?
going to University of Memphis for my master's. And then I went to Union University for my EDS and my doctorate degrees. So
Wow.
that's how I stayed in Memphis
Wow.
for a total of 10 years. So
So you
6
did
years
all
longer
your
than I had planned to.
college there.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. So you pretty much built a life there at this point.
I had, and my family thought I was there to stay. They, especially once I bought a home in Memphis. I bought a home right after I graduated college. And
Nice.
so, they thought they had me, and I was like, nah, I just need a place to stay. And,
Right.
the mortgage is just maybe a few $100s more than rent. So seemed like a better investment. But I did leave after I got my doctorate degree and I moved back to the LA area.
Okay, so you came on back and brought all of the
Hmm.
degrees with you. So that's a long time. So you spent 10 years in school in
Yep.
Memphis.
Hmm.
And now you're coming back to now let me ask you this, career-wise, what were you doing while you were in school? Were you working in centers or anything like that?
So I didn't work in undergrad. Um, I did a summer job after my junior year working for a technology summer camp.
Okay.
And so I worked with the younger kids, elementary age, teaching them about computers, being safe on the computer, the parts of a computer, and so forth.
Nice.
Um, and then I think my senior year, I worked at the FedEx Forum. The FedEx Forum had just opened, and I took a
Okay.
job there, mostly because my course load was light. I had some free time, so that's that. When I started working on my master's degree, that's where I really had to balance work and school. Because
Yeah.
the same semester that I started my master's degree, I also started working in the classroom as a classroom teacher because I
Mhm.
graduated with my license in addition to my degree.
Oh,
So when I graduated, I was also licensed. So I started at a school in South Memphis teaching pre-K.
so
And
wait, you
then
gotta go get the degree and then go back and get licensed? How does that
no,
work?
no, I got so
Oh,
while I was in undergrad, I would take the necessary praxis tests throughout my courses. So the way that our program worked was after a series of classes, they would tell us which praxis tests to take.
okay.
And once I had taken all the required praxis tests for my teaching license, I was then administered my teaching license. So when I graduated with my degree in early childhood education, I also got my teaching license because I had taken all the necessary tests to qualify for a teaching license. So that's why I was able to go straight into the classroom because I was credentialed. I was licensed.
Yeah, that's
so
a lot.
I was able to go straight into the classroom as a lead teacher, fully credentialed.
Wow. And I'm pointing this out because in this industry, it's education, but the education is not just about the kids. It's about you guys. Got to go through all of the schooling plus the licensing. So
yes,
when you're in school, what if you don't take the practice test?
Then you will not be separately. Yeah, then you will not be licensed because I did have some classmates. So not only is it just the licensure, but you also have to do student teaching. Student teaching is what tripped up a lot of people because some of my classmates, they worked in addition to going to school. And with student teaching, that's a 15-week commitment. And sometimes they couldn't take off work.
You don't get paid to do that?
And you don't get paid during your student teaching.
Oh.
And so like for 8 weeks, we had a 8-week urban experience where they placed us at a school in the district. And then we had a 7-week suburban experience. And I was placed in a Jewish childcare program. And so they give you
some diversity. Yeah.
But again, this was 20-something years ago. I'm not sure how they're doing it now.
That's brutal though. Like, and when you talk about, the earning potential of a teacher and what they put teachers through, it's nobody really even sees that part. They just think you're a teacher, get up there and
right. No, there's layers to it. And so you do have to, and it all depends because like I said, I was on a bachelor degree track. If you, and it also depends on your state, if you have, because in California, they actually have 2 separate systems. And so for early childhood, you get a child development permit. And then if you're K-5, you get a multiple subject teaching credential. While as in Tennessee, I was licensed for pre-K through 4th grade. There was no separate child development. So that was a change for me when I moved back to LA, that to make myself more marketable, I had to get a child development permit. So I qualified for the highest, was the program director. But then I also had to get a multiple subject teaching credential if I wanted to work in the school district. And
a lot of red tape.
Like
I
could probably do I could do a whole session just on what I had to do last summer when I was trying to get licensed in Virginia.
Then you got to go state to state. This is why
that's the other part
about this, because
I didn't, yeah. One thing I will tell people, if you are currently licensed, keep your license up to date and valid, even if you have stepped out of the school district. Because I had eventually stepped out of the school district, so I let my teaching license in Tennessee lapse. I was licensed for be a classroom, and I also had an administrator license. And once I came out of the district and I started working in the nonprofit sector, I let it lapse. And then last summer, as I'm looking for employment, trying to get back into the district, first I tried, just applying on the strength that I will qualify for the license, but my application wasn't getting picked up. So then I went ahead and got myself licensed, and that was a journey in and of itself. I basically had to go and renew or reactivate my Tennessee license in order to apply for the comparable license in Virginia, and then do reciprocity to get licensed in Maryland. So right now I am licensed in Virginia, Maryland, and Tennessee.
Wow, well, that's good, but that's a lot of work.
It is. And a lot of money, because to get licensed in Virginia, I end up spending like $300.
See, this is why you guys need to talk about this, because a lot of people don't know that you guys have to go through this, especially parents, when they're putting their kids in school and they're, I will say, not valuing the teacher's journey because they don't know what you guys have to go through. Let's see. Alan says, I had multiple subjects credentialed first, but then received the program director's permit to make myself more marketable. Funny, I'm just now renewing my multiple subject teaching credential. I just never know, but always good to maintain any professional credential I've earned, even if I may never use it again.
Yep.
Alan, did you want to elaborate on that?
Well, actually, the only thing I want to elaborate on is that in the renewing process, just looking at it, I am, and LaToya, you know that I've presented and spoken with you about child abuse reporting. I am so humbled to see that the California credentialing system has a whole page of acknowledging your role as a mandated reporter before you can renew your credential. I'm guessing that's probably the only state doing that, where they are essentially telling you when you have your professional credential, you've got just a reminder, hey, you're covered by this law. So to me, that's just great to see. And yeah, I'm probably never going to, I was blown away because in getting I had the multiple subjects teaching credential because when I came out to California and I actually, my first teaching job was in South Central at 102nd Street School. I taught kindergarten, but so I had the multiple subjects teaching credential. But as I was working in early childhood ed at county offices of education and in just other positions, it's almost like the child director's permit, which quote technically is a lower credential, that actually was more valuable to have in the field of early childhood education in California. So thanks for bringing that up, Deidre. And sorry I had mispronounced your name before. I'm so used to calling you Dr. Jones, I knew I'd get myself in trouble.
Thanks for sharing, Alan.
Definitely, thanks for sharing that. I'm just glad that you brought that up, Deidre, because a lot of people don't really know what it takes to be a teacher. That is a lot, especially not to have people respect the pay that you deserve and the treatment that you deserve, And I'm glad that you talked about wanting to be a teacher from when you were a kid, because we were talking about that on another podcast I was on, how kids today, back in my day, when you asked kids what they wanted to be, teacher was top 5 of what they wanted to be. Now you don't even hear that anymore.
Nice. Influencer, content creator.
That's exactly what it is.
YouTuber.
They want to like passing that, and I'm like, nobody wants to be a teacher anymore. Like, that's crazy. But it's a long road. That's why I feel like as a profession, we need to create that as the profession and really boost up how people, what people know about what we do here in this industry. So that's why I love the Craft Cafe, because a lot of stuff, as much as I work with you guys all the time, there's a lot of stuff that slips through the cracks with me because I'm not in there day to day. I'm just kind of putting the things together, marketing and things like that. But I get to learn more about what you really have to go through, to have a career in this industry. And it doesn't always seem peachy, and it's a lot of competition. Let's see. Karita says, I think that when you take teaching out of it, the interest is lost. Yeah. You want to elaborate on that, Karita?
Absolutely. I was trying to get my palette together, guys.
Okay.
So what I mean about that is I wanted to be a teacher myself, like a real life in classroom teacher. But when you take it's almost like you taking the power from the teacher to be a teacher. When you piling on everything, it makes it difficult because now you can't even abide by the curriculum that is given, because you have this time to do this time to do that. Me growing up, and I'm gonna go back with Dr. Jones here, that my kindergarten teacher, Miss Owens, was phenomenal. Now, mind you, I am like getting ready to be 52 years old. So yes, I don't mind aging myself. But she was one of the most inspiring teachers that made you want to be a teacher, and it allowed teachers to be teachers, to teach and not have to deal with all the negativity or the parents, when the parents wasn't, or parents now aren't as involved as parents were back then. And then now we have like you say, social media. We have iPhones, iPads. We have all this technology. They don't even have a textbook now. So you can't teach the way you want to teach.
Yeah.
To give that creativity and innovate those minds, because their minds also is not being allowed to be a child either, because they have other responsibilities, and then they bring that to the classroom, which causes all other types of behaviors. So I'm not saying bring what is it, what's
Common
corporate,
Core?
the punishment in school, because I got
corporal punishment.
Corporal punishment.
I got paddled in school. Okay.
I did too.
I did too.
Y'all understand all that.
Because I just believe that, not saying that because it wasn't abuse. It wasn't abuse now. And then it was in our little mind, it wasn't abuse. It was
abuse,
like,
right. It was
I send
discipline.
you correct. So I send you to school to learn. Okay. But as I look at it, and with my kids growing up, I always said, you are my child's parent when I'm not around. They do something wrong, you need to correct them then and there, and then let me know. So, but we ain't never had no problem with my children. None. But I think that's what, and giving teachers what they are owed. I call it we say hazardous pay. They need some type of hazardous pay, because teachers are getting their job being taken away because they're defending themselves in schools. So that's my take, but that's what I mean right there.
And that's what eventually made me exit the classroom. I saw somebody just put in, teachers are teaching to the test, and that's essentially what I had gotten to. Not so much as to the test, but more so like teaching to the report card and the progress reports, because it was literally just when I finished one, I then had to start collecting data for the next one. So I just did progress reports. All right, now I got to start collecting data for the report card in 4 to 6 weeks. And I never felt like I could teach. Yeah. And then during my second year of kindergarten, which would have been my 5th year teaching, they pushed the curriculum down. So now things that they typically were teaching in 1st grade, I now had to teach in kindergarten. Oh, and wow. It just became way too much for me. I had started to get migraines, and I actually started to get migraines from my very 1st year teaching. So you're talking about 6 years of progressive migraines, until the point where like I went to the doctor and I was like, I need, my head examined to see if there's a tumor or if I'm having an aneurysm or something, because they were just getting worse and worse with each year. Trying different types of medication to mitigate it. But then, my body gets used to it. So then it's not working anymore. Now we've got to try something else. Like, it was horrible. But the minute I left the classroom, my migraines decreased. And I found myself losing patience. And I did not want to be that teacher that only showed up in the classroom because I was there to collect a check. I did not want to be that teacher. And I felt like I was doing more harm to the kids because I had lost my patience, and I felt like I was doing a lot more yelling now. And that's why I exited the classroom, because it no longer brought me joy like it had my first couple of years. Like, granted, I had my challenges my 1st year. I was hired late, so I wasn't able to really set up my classroom the way I wanted to. I had a little 4-year-old terror that I could not get under control. Her mother wasn't any help. I didn't get any support from the principal. Like, it was horrible. I still remember her name to this day. I ain't gonna call her out, but she was a little terror.
Everybody got a couple of those.
And honestly, like, after a few months, like, I was looking for another job. I kid you not. Like, I was like, I didn't sign up for this. And I was legitimately looking for another job, looking to transfer or just get out altogether. But I did end up staying, and I stayed at that school for 2 years before it closed. But Karita is correct. Like it'll, though that bureaucracy or the politics of it all can make you just not want to do it anymore.
Yeah. And that's what Denise had put something in the chat. Did you want to elaborate on that, Denise?
Yeah, so in Massachusetts, we started doing this thing when my kids were in school, MCAS. So they would tell the children you're going to be you have to take these tests, and it's like 2 or 3 hours a day over the span of a couple of weeks, like not every day, but and then I mean the kids get so stressed out because they literally don't believe you that it's not about because every other test is about their knowledge. So the beginning, the elementary school and into middle school, it was you had to have a percentage of children in your school district who mastered certain concepts in every subject in order to maintain a level of funding. So that became this big emphasis. And then right at the end, the children learn when they get into high school that they have to pass these tests in order to graduate. So, I mean, I know a child who had to take the test like 3 different times in order to graduate because, and it would be take the test, in February or something, and then they didn't pass, and they take it again in like April and didn't pass, and took it again in May and finally passed. And so they were able to graduate the first week of June. But I mean, they're weeks away from graduation ceremony, don't know if they're going to be able to walk and get their diploma. And meanwhile, the teachers are literally just, hammering away at the kids. And at the same time, there's this, no kid left behind. So if a child is struggling, they just keep getting passed up the ladder. And one of mine happened to have some learning issues and was in first grade, came out of first grade, actually, not reading at a kindergarten level. And I could not get any help for this kid. And I'm an educator and I'm at home sitting with him. I'm doing homework for 3 hours after school with him, trying to go through it and trying to get him to, try to figure out why he's not reading, whatever. And they ended up with a special program that he got into in second grade, but he had to go to school early for reading, and then he stayed late a couple of days for math help. So that then he would come home and he still got homework to do. It was just nuts. And the teachers were like, well, he has to, we don't know why he's not learning, but we got to move on. And I'm just like, well, it's your job, and I literally sat in his 5th grade classroom. I sat in a meeting with his 5th grade teacher, and she tried to say that I was given into crocodile tears for my child. And I was just like my husband put his hand on my leg so I would not go across that table.
Right, like hold on.
Right, just like oh, you have hit the mama bear thing now.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I just looked at her and I said, listen to me. I said, I am at home and I am teaching him how to behave, how to be a kind person, how to do what God wants him to do. And he's a sweetheart. And all of his other teachers have always said he gives 110%. So how dare you sit across the table from me and tell me that I'm in the wrong? I said, why aren't you trying to find a way to reach him? That's what my taxes pay you to do. And she's, well, we've done everything, that you can. And I had my kid tested and they're like, we're doing all of these things. And I said, I can name 6 things in that report that you don't do for my kid. And I said, so I'll check in with you next week and ask you what you've changed. And this was for an IEP meeting, and they wouldn't give me an IEP. And I was just like, okay, then I'm going to be in your face. And that's, I'm like, not every parent can do that at the time I wasn't working. So I could be in the class. I could come at them every day. I could show up at school. You know, and I had 3 hours to kill between they came home and making dinner to sit with him and help him get through it. But, you know, and I felt bad for the teachers because I know they're on this whole other pressure cooker to meet these specific guidelines for the kids in their school. I'm like, you can't do it at the expense of even one child in your district.
Yeah, and
You know, they finally stopped taking I think they still take the test, but you don't have to pass them. I think 2 years ago, they started, you don't have to pass it in order to graduate.
Okay.
So at least it takes that off of the kids. But the curriculum still is geared around that. So even in elementary schools, if you know, like we do here in pre-K and preschool, if we see that there's, you know, the kids are really into the week that we did pond life. Well, what else can we teach them about pond life? Let's do another week. Let's do another, and right? And incorporate it in different ways into all the little centers and all of that. And there's the kindergarten and up, they're all like, nope, don't have time. Just don't have time. That's one
reason why I never wanted a testing grade. You know, as I said, I was licensed pre-K through 4th grade, but I would not teach past 1st grade. Like if I couldn't teach pre-K or kindergarten, like 1st grade was the highest I was willing to go. Because mandatory testing started in 3rd grade, but they would start to practice it in 2nd grade. And like you said, Denise, it's tied to funding, but it's also it became tied to teacher performance, where if a certain percentage of your kids didn't score at a certain level, you were without a job. You know, that's one reason why some years ago, I think it was in Atlanta, there was this whole scandal with these teachers who had changed, I think, answers or scores. I think it was the answers on this test that was administered to kids because it was going to, you know, their job was on the line. And so it puts that pressure on teachers also, like, you know, and then the teachers inadvertently pass that pressure on to the kids because they're worried about their job security and it falls on the performance of the kids. So now they're telling the kids, you know, how they need to perform well and they're teaching to the test, you know, instead of following the curriculum, but they're teaching to the test because they've got this stressor of you all have to perform at this level so that I can keep my job. And then the school, you know, from the principal on down is putting pressure on the teacher because they're like, your kids need to perform at this level so we can continue to get funding.
And I feel like the teachers get squished in the middle of that. And nobody sees that part, you know. Let's see, Karita, you had your hand up. You want to unmute?
Yes. As I'm sitting here listening, Denise, first of all, I want to commend you for advocating for your child. And I think that is where a lot of parents don't realize that you have rights. And especially with that IEP, every 6 months, the IEP should be getting reviewed so we can see how to curtail it to that child to make sure the child and the administration is following those instructions. That's just like if a child has a 504 plan to where if they need a break or if they can't sit down and they're fidgety all the time in class, they have this thing where they can stand up and do what they need to do in order to keep them learning. Because the more a child is outside of classroom, what are they learning? They're learning nothing. Okay. And then with the testing, and like Dr. Joe said, you're teaching just to be testing. Because here in North Carolina, the EOGs, when you see these 3rd graders and 5th graders with knots in their shoulders because they are so stressed out, if I don't pass, I am not going to be able to go to the next grade. And I don't think that's just too much pressure for a 3rd grader, 5th grader, an 8th grader. It's just too much. It's too much. So if you bring teaching back to teaching and not teaching just to be testing, you're still going to miss something. Something is going to be missed. So kudos to you, Denise, for advocacy. I love it.
Mm-hmm. I love that too. Thanks, Karita, for your added comment. Because this is, essentially what we're fighting for, because it has to be a cohesive system that works for, I mean, everybody's not gonna love everything, but it has to, the standpoint is the children at the end of the day. And if we have teachers walking out of the classroom, who are we gonna have for the kids? So it's like, wow. So Dr. Jones, I was like, my Deidre, like in your career, like being as though you said, listen, you had migraines for 6 years. What are some things that you've seen that have worked for teachers with, kind of helping out with that kind of thing, with being crushed in the middle? Or what do you see happening? Any nuances or anything like that?
Happening as far as what? What do
Like
you?
anything changing, or you know what I mean? Do you see anything changing like in the industry where that's getting resolved? Or you know what I mean? Like what do you think people can do?
I think there have been some changes, but there's definitely room for more. I can't speak so much anymore to like the elementary space, since I've come out of the classroom and my focus has really been on early childhood. Even coming out and within early childhood, I've seen a difference between what I was doing in the classroom, and I'll say within a district space, because my children, they were sitting at tables. I had quote unquote centers, but they definitely were rotating through them. Like I had a timer. It's like, okay, 15 minutes in each. All right, 15 minutes up, move to the next one. Like that's what I was doing, but I didn't know any better. And now, as I've grown in my career, as I've seen different, as I've had different experiences and be able to see different types of programs, and as I've gotten more professional development, I see what it should be. The children should not be timed from this center, then move to this one, then move to this one, then move to this one. They should just be able to move freely, and truly play, but it's organized play. I think a lot of people who are not knowledgeable about early childhood, they see children playing and they're like, oh, that's easy. But the thing is, it's not easy because it's intentional. The teachers have set up and curated every activity, every setup, all the materials that are in there. It's all intentional. And it's all to teach a certain concept, whatever they're working on for that week. That is what it's teaching, if they're doing it correctly. The teachers are having conversations with the children about what they're learning or what they're engaging with in their play. There's that back and forth exchange. It's just not, oh, that's really nice what you're doing. What are you doing that for? I mean, you may have some of that, but in your high quality programs, the teachers are being intentional about the questions they are asking the children about their play, because they are stimulating their cognitive development.
So you get more flexibility in the.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what it would be like if they took some of those principles, the ECE, into the K through 12.
You know what? And it's so funny because there have been times I've seen the K through 5 sector adopt things that were done in ECE, but they repackage it like it's something new and innovative. And I'll sit there and I'm like, but ECE been doing that. It's like, that's nothing new. The early childhood has been doing that, but they will repackage it like it's this innovative thing. And it's like, no, it's not. But honestly, I believe if they took a lot of principles from early childhood, things could be better in the K through 5, starting with ratios. Okay.
Yeah.
Like early childhood, we are a stickler for ratio. The best is 1 to 10, no more than 20 children in a classroom. Okay. When I was a kindergarten teacher, at the max, I had 25 kids.
Yeah,
and without an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
Without an assistant.
That's crazy.
So if they stopped, and the reason why they do it is because it's about money. You get paid for each butt that is in the seat. So let's cram as many as we can. But Research has shown that doesn't help with learning. It increases behavior problems. Because that's the other thing. In early childhood, we have these licensing standards that tell us, based on the space, you can have this many children in the room. Same for the playground. They tell us each child needs X amount of square footage on a playground. Like your playground has to be X amount of square footage per child, both outdoors and indoors. K-5 doesn't have that. No. They say, how many chairs and tables can we cram into this room? And max it out.
Yeah.
Not thinking that it's going to increase behavior management problems, especially if you're not giving that teacher an assistant, a full-time assistant, not just a floater that spends a few minutes in each class, but somebody that's there the entire time. And then, like I said, the increase in behavior management, or in behaviors, because it's too many bodies in the classroom. Yeah. So if they just start with that, I think we would start to see a lot of improved changes in the K-5 sector.
Yeah, I think so too. Let's see, Alan, did you have something? I think I saw you unmute.
Well, I have two things. One from earlier, but I'll just, so that I don't forget what was just being talked about. I mean, yes, there's some business to education, but the product that should be focused on should be the goals, that we want for the children. And if that means that we have to have better ratios, so that we have to employ more teachers, then that's, it should be, what's the research show in terms of those best ratios, for achieving the best outcomes for the most children or for all children. So just a comment there. And I took your earlier question a little bit differently in terms of what I would call, Deidre, lessons from early childhood instead of the trickling down from K-12. It's more of the pushing up from early childhood, lessons to be learned from early childhood. And I know, especially from the world that I was mostly in, which was Head Start, there's a lot around teacher mental health, not just child and family mental health, but also focused on teacher mental health. So I think that's also a way to keep more professionals sort of in the field and getting at, issues in the field that may be challenges, so that they can still retain that fun and enjoy the experience, but also acknowledging that, it's not always an easy profession. And like you say, people think, oh, early childhood, easy. I had friends that were, K-12, they were teaching 5th or 6th grade. And I remember people wanted to move down to the pre-K program in the school district because they heard, oh, they get Fridays off to meet with parents, and, the ratios are small and it's going to be easy. Those 5th and 6th grade teachers that moved down because of seniority, they quickly learned that early childhood is not, quote, oh, it's just easy. So I think that also brings to the professionalism that has to be at all levels of education.
And not to mention also, like, some of the things I've heard, they move down, but then they're also not ready for the crying, the clinginess. They're not as independent. So yes, you may have to wipe a few noses. You may have to tie a few shoes. You may have to help out with jacket. And those are things that they're like, wait a minute, I'm not ready for, like, I don't want to do this. So that those are other the social emotional component of early childhood. I think a lot of higher up teachers are not ready for it. They look at what's going on in the classroom, and that, oh, they're just playing, so yeah, that's easy. But they don't look at the social emotional part of it. And once they go down there and they see it, they're like, nah, I can't. They cry too much, or whatever it is. While as you have some who are aware of it and they're just like, God bless you. Like, I don't have the stamina for that. And you do, you're an angel.
And I think that's another kind of a push-up principle where we know it as early care and education. There's nothing wrong that's saying there should be K-12 care and education, that there still needs to be connectedness with social emotional development at all ages K-12. So that's another lesson that can be learned from us.
I love that. I mean, I think we all need to, have more time to understand what each side is, because it always seems like a ECE versus K-12, like it's like a us.
Oh, it is.
And
It is.
shouldn't even be like that. It should be a partnership, because
And even in the ECE, there's still that split between infant toddlers and preschoolers.
yeah, I believe that too. Like even in the schools, I think honestly, I think that the putting those little babies in the elementary school, I don't think that's right. Like they got pre-K. I know my kids went to pre-K 3 at a charter school, and they were so small they could barely fit the uniforms. And seriously, like the skirt, my daughter, her skirt was literally on the floor. I was like, damn, too small for this school. And from pre-K 3 to 8th grade. So think about what happens during the not recess. What is it when they let the kids out? Dismissal.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are trampling over these little tiny little buzzards. I'm like, goodness, watch my baby. Shorty, and like you got middle school kids in here, even though they split them up by floors. It's just such a big culture shock for the little kids. And I do believe they need to have their own space where they have a little kids school, and to that, because that can be really overwhelming for a 3-year-old going.
Yeah, definitely. Because even like the elementary school I went to, we were all on the same campus, but there was a gate that separated. You had the pre-K through 4 on one side, and then you had K through 6 on the other side. And there was just this kind of like low gate where the pre-K through 4 couldn't come onto the K through 6 side. But we could still see, like they could run up to the gate, because there were times you had elementary age students who had a younger sibling that was in K2, K3, or K4. So those are our 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. And they would run, and they may see that they're outside. So they run up to the fence, call their name, they come over, and chit chat or whatever. So you could still see them, but they couldn't come over onto our side. So definitely that, because playground equipment is going to be different. There should maybe be different entrances, depending on the age. You have some schools where if they do have at least like the preschoolers on it, I've heard of some where they won't even allow the parents to drop the kids off to like come on campus. Like literally their child has to get out the car and walk on campus. And for a 4-year-old where this is their first time, that's scary. Not being able to be walked in by your parent, and you're at this brand new school, don't know anyone, and your parent just lets you out the car and says, okay, bye.
You know which way to go. Like,
right.
That's crazy. Wow. This has been excellent. I'm glad that you all came, and look, I didn't even realize we're past the time.
I told you, LaToya, this was gonna be problematic for me and you, because we like to talk.
I know, but that's what we're here for. We need that time and space, because we're always on classes and webinars and all that. We need the time to actually just have these conversations and bring up our experiences and really talk this out, because I know that it's going to go far as we move to actually get this together, because I feel like there's so many different groups and silos and movements. We need to all bring those together so that we could be on one accord, because we can do much bigger, make a bigger impact. So that's why we're here. Let's talk about it, because I know there's other people that can relate, and I want to hear their 2 cents too. We might have to do a part 2, Deidre, because we didn't get into everything. We didn't get a chance to get into everything.
Right.
We're gonna need a part 2. But guys, those of you who are watching at home, if you're watching on Facebook, thank you for coming and supporting the Craft Cafe live show. We're gonna definitely have to have you back, Deidre, because we need to know more about what you're doing over there. Okay. All right. And I thank you for sending it out and really agreeing to do this episode, because we need more people like you that can speak to that journey and speak honestly about it, because everybody goes, oh, I love, but it's not always like that. So we got to be able to have a safe space to talk about the things how it affect us and what we did next and what we're going to do next. Okay. So thank you for coming, Dr. Jones, and inspiring everybody. And shout out to the Midwest, the West Coast, and all the different things. People that are still wanting to be teachers. We still need more teachers. We need people to go through this process, even though it seems a little grueling. It's worth it because the kids need you. We as a world need you. I tell my kids, I'm gonna be pushing the walker. Y'all gonna be the ones in charge.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I have to groom you up because who's gonna take care of all of this when I'm all old,
Right,
So
right.
make that investment. So I'm just so glad that you guys are all here and you're doing the things that you've done for the industry and you're still working in it. So shout out to you, Alan, with all of your 30 years. Is 30 years or 40 years? I don't know. Yep, 30 years of experience. 40. Well, all right, 40 years. See, I knew I was like, because I always want to add some extra years. Data reporting and Head Start and all the work that you've done. Karina, all the work that you guys are doing in North Carolina. You already know we have a great time raising money, raising awareness, and like what we did with the retreat and the self-care and self-consideration. All of this needs to be a thing. So we need to do more of it, you guys.
Yes. Yes.
I'm gonna let you guys go because I know you guys got a busy weekend planned ahead. I'd like to thank all of you guys for coming in. Denise, who just left, and somebody came in and they left back out.
Godfrey.
Yes, thank you, Godfrey, for popping on in. And guys, make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. We are Craft Cafe Live on YouTube. I just put the link in the chat. Make sure you guys are subscribed to it because we're growing it now. Okay, and make sure you share this episode out. I'm going to be sharing the link with you guys when it gets onto YouTube. Share it out, put it on your LinkedIn. And I also put in Dr. Jones's LinkedIn link so that you guys can get with her. I want you guys to make sure that you keep in touch. All right, it's in the chat, you guys. So go ahead and follow the link. And if you want to learn more about craft and our webinars and what we do over there for education business leaders, go to www.betterfuturesdc.com. All right. See you later. Oh, and a quick plug. We're having our first masterclass tomorrow featuring Adrienne Briggs with her 33 years of family child care leadership. And anybody can come. Definitely go on our website. I put the link in the chat also to register for that event. It's tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you guys. It's going to be a theatrical event. It's going to be one for the books. It's definitely a masterclass. We're going to be taking it back into the history of ECE and the future of it as well. All right, guys. So have a great weekend, and I will see you guys next time.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Bye.